मास्टर्स मैंने लिटरेचर में किया था. हमारे टाइम पे जो मास्टर्स था इट वाज प्योरली लिटरेचर. वी हैड ओनली वन सब्जेक्ट ऑफ ग्रामर and one, yeah, that was all. The rest was all literature. Back in 1999 when I did my master's in English. But then my MPhil and my PhD is in applied linguistics, which means that I remain cut off from, I never remain cut off from the aesthetic literature in terms of, I still love poetry and, novels and watching movies. But I aesthetic sense मेरा काफी उम्र काफी गुजर गई है, लेकिन अभी भी aesthetic sense का वहाँ. But of course जब आप as a scholar, as a critic, as a student connected नहीं होते फील्ड के साथ, तो आपको पता. तो मैंने अपना ये जो टॉपिक है ये अपनी तौर अपने the way I as a linguist see art for the sake of life. And that encapsulates several views, including the view of literature, how it views it, but then how it could be limiting in so many ways. ठीक है जी, तो मैं ये पढ़ के सुनाता हूँ आपको, साथ साथ आपको खूबसूरत इंशाल्लाह अट्रैक्टिव किस्म की इमेजेस नजर आएंगे. I started off by, telling the students how humble I feel and how special I felt, because during the past 6 years this was the first time that I stepped on that big stage, जो बड़ा ऑडिटोरियम है निमल में. उसमें मैंने बहुत सारे स्कॉलर्स को, अपने कलीग्स को बैठते हुए बातें करते हुए सुना है, लेकिन मुझे ये अपॉर्चुनिटी 6 साल में नहीं मिली, और उसके पीछे पॉलिटिकल डायमेंशन है बहुत सारे. And this was for the first time because my name was resisted, but the students were resistant. So I felt so proud. It was because of the student power that I stepped on that stage. So I started my talk by acknowledging the power that they had, which allowed me to, go to that stage. But then, this was the first time, or हमेशा first time जो मैं ऐसे पढ़कर बोक साइंस आ रहा हूँ. तो आपके साथ जब भी पहली क्लास, वो जो सेकेंड सेमेस्टर फर्स्ट सेमेस्टर की पहली क्लास थी, उसमें फर्स्ट सेमेस्टर वाले बैठे हुए थे ऑलरेडी सेकेंड सेमेस्टर में जो. तो आई वॉज प्रिटी रिलैक्स. लेकिन जब भी नई क्लास में मैं जाता हूँ, तो पहली क्लास में फिर टेक्स टाइम टू टेक कंट्रोल इन वे. दिस इज व्हाई दिस रोस्टर इज देयर. लेकिन उनका कहना था कि तो वो क्रेडिट स्टॉक आपने देखी. मैंने बड़ी सर्च की कि कोई ना कोई ऐसी जॉब मुझे मिले जहाँ पे रोस्टर पे खड़े होकर किसी ने बातें की हो, कोई नहीं मिली. और फिर वो लाइट्स होती है तो वो कहते हैं कि हम आपके साथ लाइट्स मूव करेंगे और आपने मूव होते रहना है. सो अभी उसकी वीडियो रिलीज नहीं हुई, लेकिन अगर रिलीज हुई तो उसमें देखूँगा तो मैं अभी तक मैं ऐसे पूरा आई वाज टॉकिंग एंड आई वाज वेरी प्लस पेपर्स और मुझे नजर नहीं आ रहा था वो लाइट्स की रेड. I told myself several times, stop, एक जगह पे खड़े हो जाओ, इतना भी मूव नहीं करना.
वाला क्या कहा? लाइट वाला.
वो लाइटिंग इस तरह की, वो सारा वो ड्रामेटाइज करके वो जो क्रेडिट स्टॉक्स होती है, तो इतना देखा बहुत कुछ है, लेकिन ऐसा भी नहीं देखा. Immense pressure. So I could not do justice to it the way I wanted it. However, जो भी है, अब मैं पाकिस्तान में पढ़ता हूँ, मैंने लिखा था जो कि मैंने बोला था, मैं कागज से ही पढ़ता हूँ. मुझे भी मैंने कागज से पढ़ने की कोशिश की और इसी वजह से मैं स्टक हुआ. अगर तो ये कागज मेरे पास ना होते फिर मैं डिलीवर करता. मेरे ख्याल का देन आई वुड डाइग्रेस, मेरा मसला है, और वो टॉक का एक स्पेसिफिक टाइम होता है, तो मेरा ख्याल था कि फिर मैं रोक जाऊँगा. और उधर से मैं ये लिखी दिया, उसको लाइट्स काफ़ी नहीं थी मेरे पास, क्लासेस भी नहीं थी, struggling. It was a little embarrassing. Those students said you did really well. At least Alpha वो जो मैम Alpha है, उनके बाद आप भी अच्छे थे. तो मैंने कहा you are so good. So we're going to go over this. Art for the sake of life. On the face of it, the term art and the term life are pretty straight concepts, pretty straightforward concepts, aren't they? Take art, for instance. At its simplest, art is the expression of human creative skill and imagination, typically in a visual form, but also encompassing music, literature, and dance. We therefore not only have visual arts, performing arts, and fine arts, but also digital art, and decorative art, and conceptual art, and so on. The decorative art, Kamal ki misal. So there are so many different dimensions of art. But then there is more. We influence others and get influenced ourselves by the art of persuasion and sometimes dissuasion, and the art of seduction and deception and manipulation. Not only that, we may encounter or excel at the art of ditching, at the art of treachery and betrayal. And then, ladies and gentlemen, there is the art of weaponry and warfare, which may engender the art of war mantra and war mongering, and the art of waging wars, something which our adversary on the eastern border knows too well. To counter that, we are fortunate to have the art of winning wars, which oftentimes beats the very science of winning wars. In latent lies the evidence, doesn't it? And it would be unfair not to mention the art that draws on the creative genius of all of us Pakistanis. The art of making memes. These myriad meanings and manifestations of art may make us wonder and ponder. Is art always for the sake of life? Is it that art is a celebration of life, or is it also that it is used as a means for the suppression of it? Is art also not used for division, destitution, destruction, devastation, and death? In order to develop an informed stance, therefore, we may have to reorient ourselves to the meaning of art from the vantage point of life, which brings us to the question of how we conceptualize life. Science would tell us, my dear audience, that life is the condition that distinguishes us from the inorganic matter, including the capacity for growth, reproduction, functional activity, and continual change preceding death. Did you notice that the definition is centered on us, the humans? When we think of life, anthropocentric as we are, we make humans and humanity as the linchpin. But then we know that plants and animals also have life. They also have the ability to respire, grow, reproduce, metabolize, move, and be responsive to the environment. Not only that, consider the physical world that we do not ordinarily consider alive. You and I, we bring inorganic matter to life, to make it serve our life. We make the gentle breeze kiss us on our morning walks. We make the moon wail with us on our woes. We make the clouds shed tears for us. And we make the mountains echo with our sorrows. We chide the busy old fool, unruly sun through John Donne, because it calls on us through windows and through curtains. But then we also entice this time the fair sun through Shakespeare's Romeo, and beseech and to kill the envious moon, who is already sick and pale with grief. We make the nature console us and cajole us. Little do we realize that if we look close enough and long enough, the mountains actually shed tears at what we are doing to them. That the clouds burst with the payload they have of our utter disregard for nature. That the oceans scream as we take a lazy stroll on the seashore, and that the rivers bleed as we keep washing our dirty linen on its banks. Is the art of living for the sake of life then? Let me take you from this physical world to the world of social semiotics with language at its epicenter. The process of how languages evolve seems indistinguishable from the evolution of living organisms through genetic faults and mutations. And it provides a convincing proof that language is a living organism evolving according to the same rules and laws as any other life forms. New words are created following the rules of natural selection, for example, the exact way by which new biological species adapt to their environment and survive. And just as other forms of life are diverse, languages are also diverse. In fact, research-backed evidence shows that the regions with a mega diversity of plant and animal species are also the regions with high linguistic diversity. However, estimates suggest that as many as 90% of the world's languages would disappear in 100 years or so, and almost all of these would be indigenous languages. Correspondingly, of the roughly 30 million plant and animal species that we have, around 150,000 get extinct every year. When languages die, my dear audience, so does the knowledge about how to maintain biodiversity and how to use nature sustainably. We must therefore reassure ourselves that languages are dynamic, that they are constantly evolving, and that languages fall ill, become endangered, die, and become extinct like other living organisms. In fact, you and I, mostly without explicit knowledge, we are made to commit linguistic genocide that we linguists call linguicide. We are made to shift to other languages that are promoted and propagated as having more power and prestige. We are thus made to make a language kill other languages. If art truly has to be for the sake of life, then the art of saving the life of languages by promoting their use is the biggest art a linguist can think of. And one art of doing that is producing literature in these indigenous languages that reflects life in all its forms and manifestations. But then art exhibited through diverse languages is not necessarily art for life's sake. How many poems today celebrate the Udas Bulbul and the Juhu that became its Mashalira? I hope that you have. How many poems may still make us dance with the dancing daffodils? Modernity, fueled by growth-obsessed consumerism at the cost of life on earth, keeps us focused on the material world where bigger is better. Where fast is good, big is good, and more is good. More. We want more. We cannot see anymore that small can also be beautiful. That slow is smooth. that less is best, and that the one that glitters is not necessarily gold. हम इस बुलंदी पे आ गए हैं कि अपनी परवाज खो न बैठे। हम इस बुलंदी पे आ गए हैं कि अपनी परवाज खो न बैठे। तो आओ अपनी बका की खातिर जरा सी नीची उड़ान कर लो। It's diverse, ladies and gentlemen, and so is life. Nature is diverse, and so are languages and cultures. Art cannot be for the sake of life if it loses sight of this diversity, and if it does not represent it in its multifarious manifestations. It is this diversity that gives meaning and purpose to life, as well as art. Art has been, can be, and should be a representation as well as a repository of life in all its forms and manifestations, informing, inspiring, and advancing the diverse dimensions of art for the sake of diverse dimensions of life is the clarion call of today. Let us remind ourselves what William Wordsworth so aptly said years ago. To me, the meanest flower that blows can give thoughts that do often lie too deep for tears. I thank you all. Finally, you know this one of the mean flowers that we trample on normally. Even the cattle may avoid eating it. You know this? Have you seen this?
Yes, sir.
क्या नाम है आपने अपने उसमें आप लोगों के नाम आता है?
नाम नहीं आया पर देखा है
किसको नाम आता है? It is called Dandelion in English. Okay? Dandelion, which we do not eat.
Dandelion. Dandelion.
Dandelion की बेल तक जरा देखना। Okay, so we keep on going and it keeps on telling. It is highly nutritious, it contains antioxidants, it may help fight inflammation, may aid in blood sugar management, may reduce cholesterol and triglyceride levels, may lower blood pressure, may promote liver health, may aid weight loss, may support healthy digestion and treat constipation, may boost immune health, may be useful skincare treatment, may support healthy bones. Possible risks बहुत छोटे छोटे ज़ाहिर है कि हम गाय की तरफ नहीं खाएं. You see the meanest flower that grows gives us thoughts that do often lie too deep for tears. Unless art celebrates the diverse dimensions of life. In the diverse dimensions of art that we have, we are doomed. क्या हाल है? कि नहीं?
Yes.
I hope you like my talk.
Yes, sir.
It is
Beautiful.
Thank you. Now who is going to deliver a talk? Please come to the stage.
honestly done it.